Hey everyone, I wanted to hop on and just take something off my chest before Shabbos comes in. There is so much beauty in Judaism. There's so much beauty in God. And I need people to fully understand. I hold no anger at Judaism or God. There are an abundance, just abundance of Rabbanan that are truly telling you the truth. That even, I'll take, I hate to go here, but, your Rabbi, you're on Ruvain, all right? He is, a very fire brimstone gentleman for sure, right? But when I tell you, I feel the man speaks the holy truth about the wigs, about Gehenna. I believe this man, okay? And I'll tell you the truth. I don't know that I'd like him personally. You know, they say don't meet your heroes. But I look at another rabbi who I've had the complete honor and pleasure of attending his classes at the Kosher Torah School, Rabbi Ariel Bar Tzadok. I'm not currently attending the classes, but I have. I'm saying this man is, I don't even know what to do with someone so holy, Again, and I want to say something. You people that I think are holy, I don't really think, it doesn't matter to me. Listen, one of the best lessons I've ever learned in my life is what other people think of me is simply not my business. You know what I mean? You don't have to like me for me to think you're a righteous, representation of our faith on planet Earth. It doesn't, what do you care? Well, you might want to care because I want to invoke real change. And I understand that that's going to take real effort. And I want to see more rabbis like this. Also, the young Israel rabbis, kol hakavod to you gentlemen. You guys consistently spread love in Torah. It's just a beautiful thing, Even most Chabad people, listen, I want to make so clear. I think Rabbi Schneerson was one of the greatest minds to ever live, and I believe with 100% faith, Rabbi Schneerson will live again at the T.S. Mason without a doubt. But I'm saying, you guys have to understand, when I've felt this situation out, because I do feel so passionately about the Rebbe. The first time I saw 770 with a witness there, I full on tears, fell down. I felt the holiness, I felt the emptiness, the loss of the earth. So you can't even sit here and tell me that I don't have a love for Rabbi Schneerson. I have a huge love for Rabbi Schneerson. I don't love him less because he didn't fulfill the prophecies in the role of Mashiach. I don't love him less because of that. He is still great for that. You know what I'm saying? For some reason, though, we have allowed a lot of very mean people to make decisions. One of the things I've learned about the Detroit VOD this week, they're not governed by let's say the CRC, right, which does conversions. They do an amazing, they do amazing work with almost everything they do, and I guess there are Bais that are under the CRC, which is really a bracha, because if something goes wrong, hence what has happened here in Detroit, if Detroit were under the umbrella, let's say, of the CRC, we're just going to use them as an example because they are an umbrella based in, okay? If, please God, we could recruit them to Detroit to rebuild our rabbinical conversion program start to finish and bring in fresh minds, fresh ideas, people with real compassion and concern for people that, listen, Jewish people, I gotta tell you something, all right? This is talking to the Heimish and the Litvish right now. you guys really take for granted how valuable and loved, I hate to break it to you, Black people are. All right? I can't, like, physically take hearing another story from a person who's Black of what they went through in the process of conversion. Like, I've got to tell you, we, the world, who love God and love our fellow Jew and love our fellow man and, whatever color he is, okay, we, those Jews, are not singling them Jews because they're Black out. That is something, the Heimies and the Lit Fox, that's something you're doing. And you bring it up during conversion and, like, basically forewarn them of what racist POSs you are. And then these people have to go through that conversion with the feeling of humiliation that their Rabbanan told them that they were not essentially shouldn't do this because they're Black. Like oh, shalom. Like, this has been said to people. And just imagine, like, how disheartening that would be going forward, and having to convert with people who treated you that way. That's just happened so many times. And I just have to ask myself, like, as a convert myself that was blessed to convert with, I'm going to keep his identity private because I don't know how he would feel about my coming forward with these things. I'm not trying to embarrass him. He is, in my opinion, one of the holiest people to ever live. He's the student of Rabbi Kaplan, who's one of the holiest people to just ever live. These are people who just gave and blah, blah, blah to Judaism. No point in bringing your dismay with me to any of these gentlemen because they are righteous men. They know that I have made a commitment over 20 years ago that I would do everything I could within my human capability to try to save Jews and Judaism and bring people to Torah. It's just, I have to now bring them to Torah. You know what I'm saying? Like, Torah has been so heavily forgotten. And, like, when I go through, let me just show you something that I have here. When I study Meditation of the Bible by Aryeh Kaplan, all right, there's so many references to Genesis, Bereshit. There's so many references to Ezekiel's vision. Now, I've been saying ad nauseum to, like, anybody who will listen to me that we are, like, living inside of Ezekiel's safer. Like, that's, like, what's going on. Everything here is so detailed, okay? You don't have in this safer, first of all, this safer basically teaches you how to meditate and actually heal through meditation. This book should be taught in like the public school, okay? It's so necessary, for sure, every yeshiva. I have great admiration and respect for people like the holy Rabbi Kaplan. Let's just take him as an example. May he live again at redemption, because, wow, who wouldn't want to see him around and running things? I bet he'd do a good job. I want to see more people like that. I want to see more people actually elevating our understanding with our Torah knowledge of how to be humans and how to be righteous. I believe the teachings of these people teach exactly that. Something you guys are not going to even believe I'm okay with. All right? Now, I want to make something very clear. I have a set of Kabbalah. However, do I learn it? No. I have it as a reference. If I needed to look up a specific this, a specific that I could not otherwise find in a safer that is, let's say, understanding Kabbalah, like the Minchat Yehuda, right? Like that's a sefer I'm learning right now. Very holy book, like very holy sefer, you know. It's a beautiful, he just teaches Yiddishkeit in this sefer just in such a magical, passionate, beautiful, intimate way. It's just a lovely sefer. I want you to know that, like, while I'm trying to point out the rabbis that are, hurting people and doing things that are, not holy, I want to highlight the rabbis that do so many amazing things so that they don't think, like, someone would be coming after. Like, no, like, I very much acknowledge that there's an abundance of beautiful rabbis that are doing Judaism in such a healthy, lovely way. I think we just need an abundance of those rabbis. And my concern is that if we are busy contending with the shenanigans of the Rabbanan that have shown us they're just not able to elevate their mind, to wrap it around the worlds of today in a fair and just manner, they really should be retired. Let them have they have their shuls, let them run their shuls. Who cares? You just stop making decisions for the neshamot of other people. Like, I'm sorry. The basin that converted me, this was the most serious decision I have ever made. It was made with more kavanah, with more sincerity. Whatever you think about me, you can't argue with the fact that I love Judaism and I love Jews. And I so desperately want to see Jews love Judaism. And through my work, through my life experiences, my friendships, etc., I've learned quite a bit why people don't love Judaism. It breaks my heart. God forbid, like, maybe like Hashem heal these people and bring them an immediate miraculous physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and financial refuah shalima in all areas of life. Like, people need real healing. And part of real healing is saying, like, listen, you actually don't have to suffer in silence. These Lashon Hara laws, they actually truly don't apply to people who do these types of really just nasty things. They don't. I mean, we can't have snobbery ruling things. It's time to start demanding answers. Like, you understand, these people learn Kabbalah, okay? So, like, the Kabbalah I have in my house is actually, believe it or not, because anybody who knows me personally knows that I hate the Kabbalah Center. Hate them. That I hate the Scientology. Hate them. Hate what they believe. All right? But, however, Rabbi Berg, the original commentary on this particular Zohar, he was once a Jew with a dream. You know what I mean? And I really wanted to study him because there was something about his light, his energy that I just felt was so peaceful and so kind. So I started to research Rabbi Berg, and I was like, holy shit, this rabbi really had, like, the right idea in mind. It was like almost like, again, hijacked by people, and they turned it into what they wanted it to be. But the Kabbalah Center today is absolutely not what Rabbi Berg had in mind all those years back when he cared enough to make a Kabbalah understandable for people so they could heal. It was more about healing than forbidden knowledge, So, yeah, they did a couple of things wrong. I don't support, the Kabbalah Center. But, like, listen, I can separate Rabbi Berg from the Kabbalah Center and say, you know what, thank you. Thank you for putting a reference on my shelf that if I really needed to know something, that, like, I think about just the amount of care for something he must have had, you know, to make his own Kabbalah. I just think that's amazing. Like, he really wanted to share this gift with the world. And, like, Zohar and Jewish mysticism are not jokes. It is not something everybody should be learning, you know, without heavy knowledge in other texts. But at the end of the day, just like anything, it's like, are you pure of heart? You know what I mean? And I guess what I thought and what I feel about Rabbi Berg is that, like, in like the center of his soul, like the crux of who he is, his highest self, I feel like that person really is a sweet and loving neshama that just wanted to save the world with Zohar. And, like, I really hope one day, please God, his Zohar will have the respect it deserves, because it's beautiful work. I think he's right. I don't really like that they call Hashem the light, but however, if that's, you know, we all know what they mean. But you know what? His heart's really in it. You can take the bad out of the good so you can keep the good and love it. And that is what I'm hoping, with Hashem's help and with Hashem's mercy, we as a small and mighty few will raise enough awareness to start highlighting the amazing rabbinical Torah figures we have and give them the positions of authority and take it away from the rabbis that have given us decades of heartbreak and bad results. That's really what this is about, you know? I want to know that the rabbis in every community, that the clergy of every community, that the priests in every church, that the imam in every mosque, you know, as the pastor, whatever the hell the Mormons have, the head cheese Mormon. I want anybody basically running an organized religion, which is the path to God, and obviously our path is Yiddishkeit and Judaism, and we love it more than anything else. You know, we want them, all of them, to have a clean path to Hashem, right? So how do we do that? We show the good people of the world that love God, that have lived for God, that have suffered and all these things, right? We show them that there is a voice now behind them saying, it's time for all of us to heal. It's time to heal the world. You know what I mean? And as I used to say years ago when I lived in Uncrowned Heights, Crown Heights, I'm getting all the snakes out the pool. And I'm not letting anybody go swimming until I get the snakes out the pool. And I almost feel like it is such hashgacha pratis, like such divine providence, that, like, the FBI knocked on my door, because it was totally my next phone call after my client on Thursday. Yeah, that was totally my next appointment. My next, like, thing to do was to contact the FBI field office and see what to do about the situation. And what I also find very just a bracha about the entire situation is, while investigating me, a funny comedian who's an advocate for people who've been abused and taken advantage of, that just wants to heal the world, right? They were able to start taking looks now. Well, who are these corrupted rabbis you're so pissed off at, so pissed at, and what did they do? So it's like, you guys have to understand, federal agents, there's a reason my son studies at 13, okay? The things he would need to be an FBI agent at, let's say under 25, right? He's learning these things now. Because much like someone who you'd even want in the FBI, right? My kid wants to be mentally in tune and in like spiritual alignment with his position as a rabbi and as a FBI agent. You know, he holds himself to a higher authority. You understand what I mean? Like, the badge means something so much to my son. When I told my kids the FBI was there, he said, "Can we call them? Can they come back? I want to ask them questions." It was so nice. I even sent the agent a text message, and I just said, you know, it's good to see someone who brings such honor to the badge. You guys were such a pleasure to speak to, and you know, it's sad because there are people that work in government, in different governments, CIA being one of them. Like, in fact, I can't think, her name is Jessica something. She is a hysterical comedian, all right, in New York City. God bless you, Jessica. I think it's Jessica. I can't think of her last name. Her first name, I think, is Jessica. What hilarious comedian. I think she has brown, curly hair. In any event, she claims to be a former employee of the CIA. Now, obviously, this is a claim that is very likely to be true. You can't get, employment records. If you could, I would question the CIA about my biological father, because I have a hunch he worked for a bunch of levels of government. It wouldn't shock me if CIA made that list. I don't know that he did, but I have like an inkling that he did, because he worked for the marshals, the police, and the FBI within his career. I'm just saying, I guess I want to see a change made in our rabbinical government, essentially, in the hierarchy. And we just have no shortage, especially with all the people that have sat on their behind learning in Kollel. We just have no shortage of people that are very passionate about current events, very passionate about how people are living, and, passionate about change and reform in a healthy way. And again, I'm not saying abandoning the Torah, not even any capacity, re-understanding it and adding to what we know. I feel like that is just extremely necessary. I think that whether it's the Rabbinical Council of America, whether it's the CRC, whether it's the OK, the OU, whatever I don't know if the OK and the OU are involved at all with governing conversion, basins or not. Whoever these authorities are, right, who look over what goes on a Bais Din, we don't have a third, that independent rabbinate governing over this one. This is the Wild West over here. We actually desperately need the babysitting from the CRC. We need the babysitting from them. We're desperate for it. Because under the CRC, you ought to behave yourself. They do hold themselves to a higher standard. One of the most effective and holiest Bais Dins I've ever seen in my life. They were not responsible for my conversion, but they are certainly pious a Yidden. Rabbi Steinberg's Bais Din in the Young Israel of Queens, God love him, in Kew Garden Hills. I don't know if he's alive or not. I hope he is. And if he is, may he live and be well and merit to greet Mashiach, please God, in health and wellness. Righteous, pious man. I'm saying, when you would bump into Rabbi Steinberg in the grocery store, it's almost like you would see an energy around him. Like, this is a person who really does love God. Like, for real. And even when I think about, I use remote viewing to take a look at the Young Israel now in Queens. And I take a look at the energy that radiates from it. It's beautiful. These are God-fearing Yidden, these people. It's always been that way, though. Even when I lived in that neighborhood, that was always the cute shul. They were always the sweetest people, Really, they do Judaism right there. And it's refreshing and it's wonderful. You know, why use smicha? I have such a high regard for it because they really make the people know things and they really prepare them to deal with humanity in its truest form. A lot of other yeshivas, certainly not the Mir, they don't do that. We have to fix these things. Like, what in the world, you know, I'll leave this video with this brief story. So that Nas Daily guy, right, who has a Jewish girlfriend, so hopefully he finds his truth in Yiddishkeit immediately, please God. So there's no, you know, non-Jewishness going on there, please God. But anywho, he did a short videos on different religions, and when he got to Judaism, and he highlighted some of the most beautiful theories of other religions, right? Things that are very pretty to hear. So it comes to Judaism, right? He talks about the fighting in Chavrusa ships. What? Why? We have people who pray to save lives. Why was these none of the kedusha of Judaism, the kedusha, the real kedusha, what makes Judaism holy, what makes Judaism the holy truth? None of those things were touched. Silliness was like the in yeshivas that accomplishes almost nothing. It makes these people argumentative. They go home and treat their wives like crap. I was a Chavetz Chaim wife. I know exactly what they do. I know exactly how they teach. You can't sit here and tell me, as Kanye would say, oh, you can't tell me nothing. All right? I lived that life, so check again. Like, I don't hate these people. They've been brainwashed to believe this horse bapoopy. And I can tell you that as opposed to deliberate deaths in pertaining to fentanyl, you know, drug overdoses that are not sexually related. First of all, most drug overdoses, by the way, especially if intravenous drugs, are people that are, you know, have a history with sexual abuse. And I have read too many stories of people talking about what they thought was important regarding the teachings of the Chavetz Chaim, how they did not report a crime that happened to them or a crime they knew about or whatever the case may be. We have to, you guys, yikes. You know how many people have died of heart attack and drug-related deaths and suicide mamash because they couldn't deal with what was happening to them, but they had to listen to the Chavetz Chaim. You know what I mean? So they became a drug addict and they just shut it down and became a drug addict and eventually died. So eventually, you know what I'm saying? There really are deaths that have occurred because of this. And we just can't ignore that reality anymore. You know what I mean? I really am going to go. Shabbos is coming in any minute. Thank you for listening. Thank you for caring. And please celebrate the good rabbis in your life, as I will. Good Shabbos.